our artist is Teresa Seaton, and Teresa and I have known each other for a few years, probably about 10 years, I'm going to guess, and she is one of the most brilliant stained glass artists that we have in this entire, I'm going to say, province. You know, because her work is outstanding. She's been recognized for her work on many occasions and in many different ways. Displayed her work, McMichael Collection. You've been at the McMichael Gallery. You've been everywhere, and she has been a very strong advocate for arts in our community and making sure that arts and artists are recognized and celebrated. So I'm so glad you could be with us. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Teresa, when Deb says that artists get their fair share of the municipal pie, so to speak, do you view art in a different way than you view culture? Or are the words interchangeable?
I personally feel the words are interchangeable. I think culture is art and art is culture. However, there is diversity in culture that we need to acknowledge within the community, definitely, and it has to be included in art and culture, because each culture will have their own type of art and own style of art. It could be dancing, it could be music, it could be spoken word. Culturally, they will be different, but they're all under the umbrella of the arts as well. So I see them as part and parcel.
You see them as very, very similar.
Very
so
connected,
it doesn't matter if I use the word art or use the word culture, they mean the same thing.
Not to me personally. However, when I speak as an artist, I speak as a visual artist, as opposed to a poet, as opposed to a, you know, so I have sort of expertise in my area, but I can't possibly speak for someone doing spoken word.
For the entire arts community.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Or cultural community.
Cultural community. Yeah.
Just to make that clear.
No, and I think that's well spoken, because you can't speak for everybody. It must be a very diverse community, though, that entire cultural artists community. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the diversity of it.
What I'm finding in Burlington is that it's becoming more and more diverse, and I'm not going to say unfortunately, but I don't know that it's being recognized within council as diverse as it is. We've got an older community here. We've got, you know, our majority of our community is in retirement age or going to be retired, and you look along Plains Road and all the retirement homes that are going up along there. And so, but that's our community as well, so we can't ignore that. But I think we have to acknowledge the other diversities, the other types and cultures coming into our community, and not ignore them just because we've got so many retired people here.
Yeah. Well, and one of the reasons that I wanted Teresa to be here is because she is not a spoken word artist. She's not a performer. She's not, you know, the things that a theater person. So you're not going to go to Drury Lane, or you're not going to go to the Performing Arts Center and see Teresa's work in the same way that you would. Now, if you go to the Performing Arts Center, in fact, you will see Teresa's work, because you have done exhibitions and been part of exhibitions at the Burlington Performing Arts Center. What we're finding here is that the facilities that are in Burlington are collaborating a little bit more to be more inclusive of all the arts. Where the stumbling block is, unfortunately, is with our council and their financial support of it. Now, they've taken a real bashing over the last decade or decade and a half, because of people who really felt that the money shouldn't, you know, that taxpayers' money shouldn't be used to invest in the arts, but it may be okay to put it into facilities, but not necessarily artists and that kind of thing. So yeah, I get it, but you know what? It's time.
Oakville has done that. fairly successful, quite successfully.
But I did notice that she had meant most of the granting went to non-profit organizations. Right. They did not go to artists, and I think that's a bit of a
because they're cultural grants. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Whereas most of us artists are non-profit. To
be
honest,
that's true.
We try.
That's true.
We try to be profitable, but it's not always profitable.
Yeah.
Why do you think that the arts has difficulty getting general support in Burlington as opposed to Oakville? What are the differences? There are the nuances.
Well, I guess I'm speaking from a personal level. One of my biggest difficulties in being an artist and trying to sell within the Burlington area was space. Space is so expensive in Burlington, and as an artist, you want to get studio costs. You don't want to get retail costs, and that was one of my personal biggest problems. It took me about 4 years to find studio space that was affordable to me, and just because the landlord was kind, that's how I managed. Yeah. But that's on a personal level.
Yeah, but you've kind of taken up the crusade to make space available to really recognize other artists. And Teresa actually has a beautiful studio right behind the RBG, the Royal Botanical Gardens, which is amazing. It couldn't be a better location. And she, on a regular basis, features different artists.
Yeah, I feel it's my duty. There's a limit of, again, we're just speaking of the visual arts, there's just a limit of space for regional artists or local artists to show. So I just felt it was my honor to actually have them on my wall. It is about self-serving. I get other people coming into my studio that will then be exposed to my work, and it has served me over the 4 years that I've had the studio very well.
Right. So how does the community support you in the space?
I think if the community could think local. And it's much like buy local.
Yeah.
It's if you're giving out say a retirement award, think about buying from a painter in the area of the escarpment. Think about and again, I've been very fortunate that I have found a niche being stained glass. Not everybody does that, but I was given the honor of doing, say, the Burlington Best Awards. So and that's council helping me out. Because of that, then I could answer some calls for St. Catherine's for their awards. Not that I got them, but at least I could try. Yeah. So if you can just think locally, much like shopping, and you're supporting local entrepreneurs and local.
So it's a mindset then.
I believe so. Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But that's also helped other groups and other people, like No Vacancy. So let's talk about No Vacancy, because people don't really know what, and Mark doesn't know.
I don't know what that is.
You can explain No Vacancy.
It's a contemporary art show that's held once a year. It runs from, it's sort of like the Burlington local Nuit Blanche. It goes from 7 until midnight. There's maybe 30 different either performance, installation, video. Myself, I do a spoken word stained glass collaborative piece, and there's like a 7 performance during the evening. But it's more, as you were talking about contemporary art, it's more contemporary. It's a little bit off the
beaten path.
And it's a wonderful venue. And this year, the Burlington, the Art Gallery of Burlington opened their arms to them and brought them in, and we were showing in the Brock Park and inside the gallery space, and it was wonderful. It was very nice of them. Otherwise, years before that, they were taking up some retail space, or they were on Old Lakeshore Road.
Now, and it all started, sorry Mark, I was just going to tell you that, when Selena started it was more about looking for vacant space. That's why it's called No Vacancy. Looking for vacant space, occupying the space for a period of time to let the public become aware of what artists are, who the artists are in the area, and the kinds of arts that they produce, and the quality is incredible. And
it's the same thing with our tour. We do a yearly Burlington studio tour, and again, it's all regional artists, and within the studios you'll get other regional artists, showing within that, and the workmanship is phenomenal just in this area, and just constant exposure to the local public and the municipalities and community. I think that's all you can ask for.
Well, and you'll pardon me for drawing the connection between the economy and art and culture, but I think it's important to draw the link between the two when you've got people that are maybe focused solely on the economy. My interpretation is when you link them closer together, that they both get stronger together.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Okay.
I think they do, because the arts will bring money into the community. I mean, when we first started the Cultural Action Plan, there was forgive me for the numbers, but if we could pull back, say, I believe 5% of the discretionary entertainment dollars that were going out of the community, we could bring in $3.5 million back to the community for that 5%. So they're connected, they're linked, very linked.
And you'll pardon me for saying this, but as an artist, collectively, as an art, I don't think that you make that connection very well to the general community, that they are so closely linked, and also the link between the creativity as you do in your stained glass, and for young kids to express themselves. When they express themselves in some art, that helps with the mathematics and history. It helps them understand the concepts of those the schoolwork.
Well, and you know what? Artists as individuals, as poor Teresa said, well, they're not for profit. Artists spend a lot of time trying to get people to become aware of their art. But artists, it's very personal. It is a personal product. It's part of who they are. When you have an organization like a collaborative, a network, an arts council, it is the arts council's job to bring awareness of art and the value of art and the accessibility to art and the importance of it and how it ties to the community and how business and art can work together and how the municipality and artists and culture can all work together. And without an arts council or a collaborative of some kind, all of our artists, whether they're spoken word artists, or whether they're stained glass artists, or whether they're sidewalk chalk artists, are trying to do it on their own. And Mark, you know as well as I do that when we do what we do, we are very lucky because we have a vehicle to do that through this camera. But for your job that you do on a daily basis and for my job that I do on a daily basis, if we don't put time aside to market what we do, we don't get the recognition. And it's very, very difficult because a lot of our artists are having to do something else beyond their art in order to support the cost of their arts. So it is our responsibility as a community to recognize the value of the art and the culture in the community and encourage our tax dollars to support that as well in some form, as we would with sports.
And here endeth the sermon by Deb.
Listen.
No,
Amen, yeah.
But you obviously agree with that.
I think sometimes we are our own worst enemies. We you have to put aside. I know I put aside one day a week, and all I do is promotion. But I'm an anomaly. I don't even think a lot of artists will even spend that one day doing promotion. But that I have learned over the years that I've got to do that in order to keep myself current, keep myself out there. And it also comes back to the creativity. we spend a lot of time, well, I spend a lot of time on commission work, which is not the most creative work sometimes. I'm getting there, but I've got to pay the rent, I've got to pay the heat, I've got to pay the hydro, I've got the insurance, I've got, so I've got to do a lot of commission work, which doesn't always allow me the creativity. So if there was any kind of, subsidy maybe, that could partially pay my rent for like 6 months so I could actually just do the things I want to do, that would be lovely, because I know those things would sell and they would bring people back into the community, or maybe to my studio.
But it's a vicious circle, isn't it? But that's no different than any other small business. The focus of the business, the owner has to take their minds off of that business and do the things like advertising, promotion, and so on. So it's not unlike a small business, and I don't know why that we view the business of art not as a business, but view it totally as art, because it's not. It's a combination of that economy, business, and art.
Well, but to that point, if I could pay myself minimum wage, I'd be happy. So I'm not about to be able to hire people to do all the work that I don't want. I really would rather do all this lovely creative stuff. But you're right, I have to think of it as business. But I'm not making the same money as a small business might. It's discretionary money, and it's I'll have a good month one month, and I'll have a terrible month the next.
Have you ever thought of allowing businesses to participate? I mean, we're saying art, culture is like starting a small business. The Chamber of Commerce, we talked about Keith Hoey calling in a lot, making those connections and bringing the business community closer to the art community.
Well, the tour that I help organize, that's exactly what we do. We go to small businesses in the area for our sponsorship, and that's where we get all our sponsorship dollars, is from small businesses, some as little as $100, some as much as $1,000, but it's all small business, and they're very, very willing to contribute to that. Right. And they want to support the local arts. Yeah. They just need more venues, maybe.
Well, Teresa, I appreciate you being here and bringing your perspective on art, culture to myself and to the viewing community out there.
Well,
so thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And to our audience, please stay tuned. I'll be back with Deb Timstra, my co-host, here on The Issue, live on Cogeco TV. We'll be right back.